Welcome to Become an Idol. I'm Dr. Robin Sargent, owner of Idol Courses. This is the place where newbies come to learn and veterans share their knowledge. I have here with me today Dina Beavers, and she is a member of the 4th cohort of the Idol Courses Academy. And Dina is here to share her success story and her journey to become an idol. And so, Dina, would you please do a better job of introducing yourself?
You did a great job. Thank you so much. Well, I am Dina Beavers, and I'm actually living in Georgia, not too far from Atlanta, Georgia. I am a former teacher. I'm a former high school math teacher of 10 years. And so that is who I was, I guess. And now I am a senior instructional designer and training specialist at Deluxe Corporation.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you went from teacher to senior instructional designer. I'm sure everyone wants to know your story. So before you even enrolled in the academy, tell us about your journey as a teacher. How did you find instructional design? And then,
Okay.
what led you to the Idol Courses Academy kind of thing?
Sure. So I had been teaching for probably, maybe that was my 9th year of teaching then, and was getting, ready to leave the classroom and said, well, what else can I do? What else can I do as a teacher? All my life, I had wanted to be a teacher, actually. And later on in life became one. But you do something for X amount of years and then you decide you want to do something else. And teachers, usually the next path is assistant principal, something of that nature. So I had actually taken some courses to become an assistant principal and just kind of felt like that wasn't quite it. And one day I literally Googled, what else can a teacher do? And stumbled. I believe that it was just God ordained, to be honest with you, but literally stumbled upon instructional design. Had never heard of it. I didn't know anything about it. And just started doing some research and came across different opportunities of learning. I could have pursued another master's degree. There were other training programs, and I said to myself, well, I don't want another master's degree at that time. And I started looking at the different other training programs. There was about 3 or 4 of them. 2 of them I just didn't feel were robust enough. I felt like I needed, knowing nothing about instructional design, I absolutely needed something that was going to walk me through the process of learning everything that I needed to know. Another academy was just too expensive, to be quite honest. It was, I believe, close to $4,000, and I just did not have that. And then came upon Idol, looked into it, had seen some good reviews about it, and I don't think you didn't have the 5-day back then. If you did, I don't think I partook in that, but some kind of way, just was able to look at things and then just enroll. And as a matter of fact, actually, I sent you a message and you answered my questions. And I just felt like it was something that I needed to do. Another component for me that was helpful was that you did installments in regards to the fees for the academy. And that really, really helped. And then out of our conversations, you were kind enough to extend a partial scholarship to me, which enabled me even more to just say, this is what I want to do. So hopefully that was succinct enough.
I love it. No, I want to hear the whole story. I'm like, go on, do tell. And so you enrolled, and it was actually our June 2020 cohort, and that's the 4th cohort we ever opened for the academy. Okay, yes. So then you got started, and you had quite a journey from there. So tell us kind of what that looked like, what your timeline was, all those things.
Okay, sure. So when the academy is, the way it's set up is for 8 weeks, and so every week, you had your sessions, other people had their sessions, your mentors had their sessions as well. And as I was walking through the academy, I was just learning and realizing that a lot of the principles and the theories and everything were aligned to what I was doing as a teacher. And so as I was walking through all of that, I was like, oh, wow, this is familiar. And so what I thought was going to be daunting and a lot of information that I would have to take in, it was just really just tweaking some of the things that I already knew in regards to, education, in regards to teaching, and just applying it for adult learners. And to be honest, a lot of times they say, oh, children learn one way and adults learn another way. And that's kind of true, especially in the earlier years. But our high school students, they're like, teach me what I need to know, and teach me what's going to be useful. As a high school geometry teacher, I used to always hear, well, am I going to use this in real life? And I would have to tell them, yes, if you're going to have to, do some measurements for your home, or if you're going to have certain career paths. But in adult education, when you're on the job and you are creating these learning experiences for your learners, they want to have something that they're going to use. They don't want a lot of theory and a lot of just information. And so that's what I discovered in the academy, is that, a lot of this I already know. The parts that I didn't feel comfortable with walking in the door were some of the authoring tools that you have in your academy, that you introduce us to. For instance, at the time it was Storyline, but I think there might be. Is there another one that you have in the academy now?
Well, we have Beyond, and we do some training on Camtasia and Captivate. So it keeps growing.
Right. That's the one thing that I do like about it, is that and I'll circle back to lifetime membership, but that's how I figured that out. But when I was in the academy, learning the authoring tool Storyline, at first I was like, oh my gosh, what is about to happen here? But again, it's a lot like PowerPoint. And the one thing that I like to tell when I'm telling my story to teachers especially is, I call myself like a regular teacher. And what I mean by that is, I was in the academy and I would see people, who were maybe getting positions, or whether I was in the academy or in particular on LinkedIn or whatever, I'd say, oh, wow, these people are getting positions, but they already had a background in graphic design. They already had a background in editing or something like that. But I was just a regular teacher. My only background is I knew how to crop a picture. I knew how to change. I knew how to change some colors. I knew some basic fundamental things. But from what we learned in your program, it really just opened up. I learned Storyline, to a point where I could start creating these learning experiences using the triggers and things of that nature. And the thing I love about the academy, and I tell everyone, because some people like to kind of like, I'll just be honest, some people like to kind of like bash it or whatever. I'll say, no, it's not a master's program, but you're learning so much that you can go out and you can get the other information. Once you introduced us to the learning theories, I could go out and I could explore even more about what that was all about. Once you introduced us to Storyline and Articulate and Rise, then I could go out and I had a foundation where I could begin to learn other things about all of the aspects of these tools or the theories or just instructional design. And so for me, the academy, what I needed was someone to walk me through step by step what it is you need to do, and also the accountability that it has. I remember Tabitha, and I think she was living overseas at the time.
Yeah.
And she would say, hey, I'm going to have a work session, Saturday morning at 9:00, whoever wants to join me. And so I was just on it. And I would go to these work sessions that were designed for you to just set aside time. And that's one of the things that I like to convey to people when I'm talking about it, is you do have to set that time aside. But when you have, we would be on sessions with at least 15 people on a Saturday morning, where we're all just cameras off, working, come back after an hour, say hi, take a break, cameras off, going back to work. So there was so much support, and there were just, I met other people, other teachers. I've got a couple of good friends now who are IDs and still on the ID journey. And it was just a really wonderful experience for me.
So how long did it take you to build your portfolio, start applying for jobs? What was that like for you?
Okay. So as I was saying, some people can get it done in 8 weeks. And then I forget you're saying, but it's like your time is your time. If you take longer than the 8 weeks, that is okay. And so it took me until January. So I started in June, and maybe January of 2021 is when I felt comfortable with my portfolio. I had a lot of it finished, but then school started. I started in June. Like COVID happened in March. I came to you in June. This is how my timeline goes.
Yeah,
and then
I'm with you.
and then school started in August. And so I wasn't spending as much time, because at the time I was a teacher, I had summers off, but that was okay. And that's what I like to tell a lot of people too, is it is okay if you do not finish it in the 8 weeks, because you have, the lifetime membership, so you could come back to it. And that's what I kept doing. I kept coming back to it. So in January, I felt comfortable. I was still working, and I was going to finish out the school year. And so I started applying for jobs really at about maybe April, because I had gotten wind, or had started noticing, because I was on LinkedIn and seeing a lot of people doing what they were doing. Excuse me. I started noticing that it takes a long time for corporate America to decide
Yeah.
if they're going to hire you or not. And I didn't realize that. As a teacher, and I don't know if this is good, bad, or indifferent, I can remember one time when I didn't get hired right away. And so I wasn't used to that. So I started interviewing around April. Filling out applications. I want to say I kept an Excel spreadsheet, and a couple of times I didn't put the job on there. I'll say a few times, let's say maybe 15 or 20 times. I'll even give myself that. But I applied to about maybe 80 to 100 positions.
Wow.
And that's not unusual, as I found when I was on LinkedIn. A lot of people, you just have to just keep applying. And you get discouraged because you're like, I feel like I'm ready. Why isn't anyone interested? So I applied. And in July of this year, I felt a shift in my interviewing skills, because all of that I had learned, it had started to synthesize. All of it kind of just came together, everything from the academy and some other experiences that I had, and it just came together, and I could just hear myself sounding better and answering the questions better. And at the end, I actually had 2 offers at the same time. And if you've never heard of my company, and I don't know if you can edit this if need be, but checkbooks. Anybody who remembers checkbooks, my company is the company that started the checkbooks. So they've diversified, blah, 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 blah. But if I named the other company, and I won't, but if I named the other company that was offering me a position as well, you would absolutely know who they were. I'll tell you who it's not. It wasn't Google or Microsoft, but
You're not allowed to say? You just don't want to say?
I don't want to say.
Okay.
I don't feel comfortable saying, but it's a company that you would know. And I say all of that to say that this is all because of everything that I had learned. That foundation that I had learned that allowed me to go out and speak confidently and also correctly regarding interviews and conveying what it was that I knew. And I like to tell teachers, when you're in this interview process, you can't hide the fact that you're a teacher, and that's okay. Because that's a benefit. You are able to talk about the learning experiences that you had, especially through COVID. Many of us have the virtual instructor-led training skills, some component of it that allows us to speak on that. There are a lot of things that we did in the classroom, whether it was small group instruction, whether it was curriculum development. All of these things are components of what are needed in corporate America. And you can spot it when you're in the position. You realize, okay, this is what needs to happen, and you see it. Whereas I can see, I've been in situations, not necessarily on my job right now, but in some interviews that I've had, and I realized, oh no, you really don't quite understand what's going on. in terms of the learning aspect. And you have that, we have those skills. So I like to tell teachers to just, not be afraid of it. And when you're walking through it, you are afraid of it and you are intimidated and you do have imposter syndrome and all the things that go along with it. But don't give up, just keep going.
You had 2 offers. How did you make your decision?
Oh, it boiled down to money.
Yeah.
It really did. And I'm glad you brought that up, because as a teacher, I know how much money I was making. I now have it's over 20% increase. And I was making okay money. Like, I know a lot of teachers out here in America are making way less than what I was making at 10 years. Because first of all, unfortunately, it's public record. And so and not that I was looking up things, but I'm just saying it is public record, teacher salaries and everything like that. But I say all of that because I know I've had conversations with other teachers, whether it was through Idle or some other platforms. And I know they were working longer than I had been working, and I was making more. And I was able to gauge, like, oh, wow, I am making more than other teachers that are out there. So I say that to say that when you come into this field, like, I remember I had a mentor, and this was on a separate occasion, and she was like, you need to ask for this amount of money. And I said, I do not feel comfortable asking for that. Mm-hmm. And she says, well, this is what I pay my people. And when she told me the three-figure, I almost lost my mind. I literally almost lost my mind when she said that. I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? And she was like, yes. She said, you need to add, and the figure that she was telling me to ask for wasn't 3 figures, but it was high for what I was used to. And I'm not going to say what my current salary is, but I will say that it's definitely a over 20% increase. And even for those who are remote, I know some people are out there and they are in remote positions where they don't live near a big city. I live near Atlanta. So, that may have some factor in it, but there are remote positions that you can qualify for that are absolutely going to pay you more than what you're getting now. And you are going to use those transferable skills and bring them over into that new position.
What's so interesting too is that not only did you land an instructional design role and you increase your salary by a large percentage, you also have the title Senior Instructional Designer. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, sure. I'm responsible. I'm on the talent management team. So my company, they have several ID teams. And so I'm on the talent management team, and I'm responsible for those type of learning initiatives. And so I work with SMEs and subject matter experts rather, and I talk with them and I script and storyboard and I create the learning experiences in articulate storyline. I make sure that they are relevant to the business. So it's not just about, making a course. It's about what business need are we meeting. I also have some LMS duties, learning management systems duties, which is the platform where you load the courses, which allow you to track the learning and allow you to, it grades the knowledge checks that you have. And I go to meetings a lot. I never knew you met so much in corporate America.
They love their meetings.
I know. And so I go to meetings and I just feel like I feel valued, and I feel like what I have to say has value, and that what I'm contributing to is not only worthy, but just that self-worth. So as a teacher, on one side of the fence, for some, not for all, but I've had many conversations just like, oh, I know I'm doing something noble, but a lot of times it doesn't feel that way, and so I can say that as I've crossed over as a senior instructional designer, it's not status. That's not quite the right word that I want to use, but I just feel like I'm in the right place. professionally.
Yeah. And so they must have had, so when you applied, was it actually, did it say senior instructional designer? And it's like, I'm just going to throw my hat in there anyway, or?
It did say senior. It had a slightly different title, but it said senior enablement something. They changed it slightly, but it did have the senior. And so what made me feel like I could go after this position was, you talk about it in the academy, and you say, don't be afraid of those positions that you need 3 to 5 years experience. And I just kind of started really looking for those positions or applying for positions where I said, okay, I have this skill, I may not have the 3 to 5 years experience as an instructional designer, but I do have 10 years of experience as an educator.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started applying for those positions, I just went for it. I looked through it and I said, okay, I can do this, I can do that. That's a transferable skill. And I started aligning my resume to the positions. That didn't quite come out right. I didn't have my teacher resume. My teacher resume said one thing. I had to change the verbiage so that it aligned more with what corporate America could understand. And so, those are the types of things that we learned in IDLE, is to revamp your resume, to get on LinkedIn and things of that nature. And I just felt like I'm just going to go for it, because there are always going to be people who have done instructional design as a profession, and that's all they've done. And if that was my prohibitor for applying for a position, I would never apply, because I don't have that experience per se, that direct experience. So you can't look at it and say, oh, I can't apply for that position because they want 3 to 5 years experience. You just apply, and if you get the interview, then you go in and you blow them out the water as best as you can. A lot of times through the interviewing process, you end up getting to the internal recruiter first. And so you have to say the necessary things to get past that person, to get to the next person. And a lot of times I would have like a three interview process, and I started making them past the first ones, and then the first and the seconds. And, you just realize that it's okay, for people to say no, because at some point someone is going to say yes, as long as you keep applying. Like the lottery says, you can't win if you don't play.
Yeah, except you actually have a better chance. You got better odds.
That's true. Oh, that is so true. That is so true.
And so now you are not going back you did not go back to the classroom this year. And this is your first time out of the classroom. Isn't that right?
It is. It is the first time out of the classroom. The timing was not great in terms of for the school, but the timing was excellent for me. It literally, like I said, it happened at the end of July, and I didn't go back. And my position is technically hybrid. I mean, I know we're all in COVID right now and everything, and we do have an office here in the Atlanta area, but I am working from home, and I am loving it.
It's so different, isn't it?
It is. It's very different. And especially as a teacher, you have, what is that? You have memory muscle or muscle memory or whatever the word is, for different times of the day, for different parts of the month, different seasons and everything. As I'm walking through this time, it's almost like you're in this different phase or this different stage or whatever. And I heard a lot of teachers always talk about the teachers who had already transferred over and gotten positions. They're like, I can go to the bathroom anytime that I want, and I can go and I can eat lunch whenever I feel like it. And you're like, really? And then when you're in it, you're like, oh my gosh, it's true. You're just not used to that. And the one thing that I'll say that I wasn't used to is you're always on as a teacher. And so when you invest in yourself and you decide to make this transition, and you go into a position that, for me, and I've heard this too from others, that pressure is not there. You're on from 7 till 2, whatever your school day is. and that energy is always there. Well, your energy gets to shift a little bit when you're not working in that type of environment. And I'm just grateful to have had the experience, to go through the learning experience that you offer.
Oh my gosh. All right, Dina. Well, this is an incredible story. You took kind of like the longer route, like almost a year exactly.
Almost a year.
To land your idol role, but it sounds like it was just on pace with what you planned to do. You wanted to finish out the school year, and you wanted to feel confident in your skills before you started applying. And then it seems like once you started applying in April, May, June, July, just once you started applying, it just took a couple months after that.
Yeah, it did. It didn't take long. Once I got the ball rolling, it didn't take long. And that was the thing. I had to get the ball rolling and just keep applying for those positions. I kept my Excel spreadsheet, and sometimes you'll hear back from the people, sometimes you won't, but I just kept trying, and I got my mug.
You sure did. And so what is your best and final piece of advice for those that are wanting to make the transition to instructional designer?
To invest in yourself. Especially I'll speak to teachers. We invest in others so much, and that's what we do. That's part of the position. That's part of who we are. But if you are ready to make the transition out of the classroom, you can do it through Idol Academy, especially. And there's tons of support. I didn't even speak on the support, the mentors, all of the other people who are in the cohort with you. The platform that she uses so that you can communicate with one another. And then it's just fun. So that's my advice, is to just invest in yourself and do it.
I love it. Dina, I am so happy for you. I am thrilled. You deserve it. And, really, teachers do make some of the best instructional designers. You've got your heart of a teacher, but you also have all those skills that you've brought from your education background. And I'm just so happy for you. So thank you so much for coming and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find the show notes for this episode at idolcourses.com. If you like this podcast and you want to become an instructional designer and online learning developer, join me in the Idol Courses Academy, where you'll learn to build all the assets you need to land your first instructional design job, early access to this podcast, tutorials for how to use the e-learning authoring tools, templates for everything course building, and paid instructional design experience opportunities. Go to idolcourses.com/academy and enroll or get on the wait list. Now get out there and build transcendent courses.